Yo guys, welcome back to another video. All of the OP12 leaders have finally been revealed, yay! And I wanted to make a quick video kind of going over them, talking about them briefly, showing 1 or 2 cards for each leader, and then at the very end kind of like briefly talking about where I might rank them kind of on a potential power scale. Not getting into anything concrete because it's just too hard to tell a lot of the times when we have new leaders and not all of the cards revealed, obviously. So this is mostly just to go over the leaders and their effects and talk about just a few cards that have some cool synergies with them that we've already seen, or existing cards that we know will work well with the leader. So yeah, that's it. Let's jump in and let's get started. Alright, so as you can see, we have ZORO, KUZAN, KOALA, Rosinante, SANJI, and RAYLEIGH as our new leaders. And let's jump in and let's get started with RAYLEIGh first. He's a red 5-life leader / former Roger Pirates. I'm sure that typing will have more like value and meaning, maybe starting from OP13 when we get like the Roger leader. But his effect is per the rules, or like in addition to the rules, you cannot have cards with a cost of 5 or greater in your deck. So that's already pretty crazy. We've never seen an effect like that, and that's just like an additional ruling kind of thing. And then his normal effect is activate main. Once per turn, you may reveal 2 event cards from your hand. Give up to 1 of your characters with the base power of 4,000 or less plus 2k power for this turn. So really weird leader. I think myself included, probably a lot of people imagine RAYLEIGh being a very like kind of like, I don't know, tanky, playing lots of big bodies kind of leader. But I think that's actually going to be reserved more for Roger, so they wanted to give RAYLEIGh kind of like something a little bit different, and they probably wanted to start giving some kind of support for like Roger Pirates or something. So maybe this is, to me, this is just like kind of setting up a predecessor kind of thing for the Roger leader that's coming OP13. But it is kind of cool because RAYLEIGh really is kind of that Oji-san that like helps out all the like younger generation, the younger kids, obviously like training Luffy and all that stuff. I don't know, I can't really say like how strong he's gonna be. We haven't seen enough cards, and I think like on paper he seems like, I'm sure a lot of people are just going to write him off, and he's not going to like think he's not going to be strong and stuff. But I mean, this could be a really strong low to the ground aggro deck, which may be important, especially when you see stuff like blue purple Luffy. You know that one of his only weaknesses is aggro decks. Looking at the new KOALA, that might be one of her new weaknesses. So I think people are probably writing him off a little bit too early. I don't think he's bad. I don't know if he's going to be good. We're just going to have to see more stuff to find out. But the new main card we got is Observation Hockey. It's a 0-cost red event. This is the most interesting 0-cost we've ever seen. I believe up until now that's all the 0-cost counter events, right? So this is a main. You may attach 1 active Dawn to your Silver's RAYLEIGh. So that should mean character or leader. And then look at the top 4 cards of your deck and reveal up to 1 red event card or up to 1 cost 3 or greater character card. Then put it into your hand and place the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. That means it can be a 3 or 4 cost character, because you cannot have 5 or greater in your deck, or just the red event. Obviously, you're going to have to run a lot of events because the leader effect requires you to reveal 2, and that is always going to be like kind of a downside. You're going to have to play a lot of counter lists. But I think there might be a lot of 0-cost events like this where it doesn't actually cost you Dawn, so you don't have the same detriment of you know, like not leaving Dawn up and not being able to use the events, stuff like that, to where the counter list really just builds up and then you lose because of that. But this is interesting. I appreciate them kind of like taking an approach that's not just like I don't know, a really like beefy strong leader that just has like a broken effect built into it, like something like blue purple Luffy. But let's move on to the next leader, ZORO. So green ZORO, definitely my most anticipated leader for this new set coming out. I'm extremely hype for the boy. As a green player, I mean, you guys know how much I love Bonnie, how much I love yellow green Yamato, and just all things green. I am very excited. I do think he's going to be really strong, but still waiting on some support to really kind of make the final decision as to whether or not I think he'll be better than something like Bonnie. But his effect is Dawn times 3, activate main once per turn. If this leader has battled a character during this turn, set this leader as active. Then for the rest of this turn, this leader cannot attack characters with an original cost of 7 or less. And one thing to note, he is Supernova and Straw Hat Crew, which is really nice. So you can use cards like 5-cost Cavendish, 6-cost Hawkins, all of the character cards that require your leader to be a supernova, he will be able to take advantage of that, which is really, really cool. And we have all the cards coming out of OP12, and we will also have all the cards coming in the Bonnie starter deck that will, you know, have potentially be able to be played in this deck. And I think this leader effect is really, really strong. I think it's going to allow you to put a lot of pressure. And one thing to note is, like the OP1 5-cost Hawkins, battling a character is the same thing, is also considered the same thing when you've been blocked by a character. So if your opponent blocks your attack, say you're swinging at life, if they block your attack, you do get to restand this leader. And if it's an 8-cost or higher, then you can swing into it twice. There's just a lot of cool things you can do with this leader effect. I think a lot of the strength and like how strong Zoro really will be is going to come down to like kind of his defensive capabilities and whether or not he'll be able to face up against removal decks like Black, KO, Lucci, blue removal, or even things like Teach. Other than that, though, I do think he's going to be generically really strong. I'm super hyped for him. This is going to be fun. I'm going to be playing him a lot no matter what. But let's take a look at some of the new cards, because they have revealed quite a few for him. The first one is this Perona Searcher. She's a 1-cost, and on play, if your leader has a slash attribute, look at the top 5 cards of your deck and reveal up to 1 slash attribute card or up to 1 green event card and put it in your hand. Then place the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. And this Hiyori, I just wanted to include, she's essentially a activate main searcher, and it's if your leader is Zoro, and then it's the same effect of a slash card or an event, which is really cool. This is something that green was lacking a lot as far as just like consistency and finding not only like certain character cards but top end, because 9-cost Zoro, 9-cost Shanks are both slash. There's stuff like obviously 5-cost Cavendish, 5-cost Smoker, 6-cost Hawkins. There's a lot of slash characters, and I'm assuming there's going to be a really strong Mihawk secret rare or super rare that comes out in the set that's going to help maybe kind of fill in the gap of what Zoro kind of feels like he's missing so far. But 2 new searches off the bat, like off rip like that, is really, really strong. This card's really, really strong too. Kuina, she essentially is like, you can activate main, rest this character, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with an original cost of 4 or less, and then attach up to 3 Rested Dawn to one of your Zoro leaders. So basically free leader effect, and you're resting an original 4 or less, which means you get around stuff like Usopp effect, like Black Sardic Luffy effect, any card that has raised the cost of a like what was an original 4 cost or less. Really, really strong. And essentially becomes like a pseudo blocker after that. It is 4 Dawn, which, you know, does seem pretty costly, but at the same time it makes it harder to just like get KO'd easily by something like a 3-cost Brook or, you know, any kind of black removal. So really, really interesting. This is a cool card. It's gonna be really fun. Like setting up the leader effect for free like that is just gonna be awesome. And like the fact that it's activate main, you can just keep reusing it, so the value that she's gonna get if she sticks is just kind of insane. And the next card that got revealed was Koshiro, and this is essentially just like a blocker that you can use, and the effect that goes along with it is if one of your 5-cost or lower slash type characters other than this character were to be KO'd by your opponent's effect, you may instead rest this character. So we just have like another option that's not just 3-cost Tashigi to prevent KOs. If you have this dude and Tashigi, you're good for all removal effects essentially, right? So it's like a 2-cost Rosie that doesn't require anything to be rested, right? Obviously 2-cost Rosie is still extremely strong in a lot of other scenarios, but you know, there might be some kind of defensive build that we run in Zoro where you run Koshiro, you run Rosinante, and you run Tashigi, and you just have those like 3 ways of defending and like protecting all of your characters. But really, really cool. I like this character a lot. I like this card a lot, and let's move on to the next thing. All right, next we got Kuzan. He's a 5-life blue leader, and his effect is when you trash cards from your hand due to a Navy card's effect, you may draw an equal number of cards that was trashed due to that effect. This is really interesting. I think this is it's weird because it's very similar to Boa, where it's like nothing too special, nothing too crazy, nothing overpowered, but with the right combo pieces could be very not oppressive, but like very strong, maybe oppressive in certain ways. It is a very good leader effect to help manage hand size and help just like make sure that you're essentially, you know, you can control A lot. You can control your hand size, your board, your opponent's board with a lot of removal and bouncing and trashing and drawing. And it also makes him very consistent, because for every time you trash through to a character's effect, it is out of your hand, so make sure you do keep that in mind. But when you trash out of your hand from an effect, like a Navy card's effect, you do get to draw that same amount. So I don't know, there's not too much I can say about Kuzan. He does seem very strong, but it is just like it feels like a different flavor of Boa. Not any worse, not any better. We'll have to see. But if you're a Kuzan stan, pretty cool. We got a leader for him. I was kind of expecting maybe like a more like oppressive, something like the 5-cost black Kuzan, like the Blackbeard Pirates one. Maybe it would have been a little more like spicy, but you know, for a first Kuzan leader, like, this is pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. And he's getting some cool support, so I think it's too early to write him off or anything either. But let's check this out. He does have a cool 6-cost where I saw this card, it just looks like the American flag in the background. I don't know, this is a like USA Kuzan. I don't know if that'll stick. There's a name in there somewhere. Freedom Kuzan, Freedom's on, I don't know. But yeah, so 6-cost 8k, and his effect is if your hand size is 5 or greater, this character has 1+1 cost, which is nice. So if you have 5 or more cards, essentially this card can't get 9-cost Linland, which is really important right now in OP11. The 6-cost, like, it used to be kind of like you had to play around Gravity Blade. Now it's the same thing, but you're playing around 9-cost Linland, because if your blue purple Luffy opponent can essentially get rid of stuff on their, like, you know, their ramped curve, then you just lose any tempo and any chance of keeping up with them that you might have had. His second effect is on play, you may trash 1 card from your hand. Up to one of your opponent's characters cannot attack until the end of your opponent's next end phase. So essentially like the 6-cost Boa that stops any character card from attacking besides like a Monkey D. Luffy. And not only that, you're essentially cycling, because you're trashing a card and then you're going to draw 1 from his effect, which is really cool. And one thing I didn't mention, but it's not once per turn. So you can, like, you know, I don't know, if you have 3 cards that have an effect where you're trashing a card from their effect in their navy, you're drawing that same amount of cards from to your hand. So pretty cool. Definitely gonna be like some cool combos. I think if you're more of a control player and you like combos and you like drawing and you like the consistency of seeing cards, I think this is gonna be a cool leader. But let's move on to the next one. We got Rosinante, Corazon. Pretty cool. I love the art on this one. It looks really cool. It almost looks like a OG like Nickelodeon kind of thing, or almost Fooly Cooly style. I love it. I love Rosinante. I love Law, and this is, if you like Law, this is a great leader for you. So it's a purple yellow 4-life leader. It does have Navy and Don Quixote pirates, and the effect is once per turn. If your Law were to be KO'd, you may add the top card of your life pile to your hand instead. Activate main once per turn, Dawn -1. During this turn, the next Law you play from your hand with a cost of 4 or more will have its cost reduced by 2. So, one great like anti-removal effect built into your leader, which is awesome, because we, you know, up until now we've always struggled with like, oh, if I don't see my Tashigi, I'm just gonna lose against black because I can't like have any anti-removal. Or if I don't see my 2-cost Rosie, like, I'm screwed, right? If I play Kid, blah blah blah. This is built into your leader, so you always have it. And the thing here is, like, the early game removal that normally helps black kind of keep the tempo and get ahead of their opponent is immediately just kind of removed, because on their 3 or 4 Dawn turn, they may be able to KO something, but they're not gonna be able to KO it twice. And so that essentially means if you play a 3-cost Law or something, like, if you want it to, it's sticking, and you're getting an extra card draw from your hand. And then being able to reduce the cost of any Law character card from your hand by 2 is really strong, because there are cards like this one. This is a new one. We have these as well, the 7-cost, the OG like 7-cost Supernova one, and then the 3-cost one that's can search when attacking. Yeah, like being able to play the 7-cost for 5, or there's also a new like 4-cost blocker Law. You can play that for 2. There's the OG hand death 4-cost blocker Law. There's a lot of Law cards, first of all, but there's a lot of really nice value plays you can get from just having the cost reduction from the leader effect. But let's take a look at this one. This is a newer one. There are other cards. I'm not going to be able to go over every single one because I mostly just want to talk about the leaders, but I did want to talk about some of the new support, and I thought this one was really important. This is one of the newer ones that got revealed. It's a 7-cost 8k. So again, 7 cost is really good. You're getting around the 9 cost Linlin, and then his effect is on play. If the number of Dawn cards you have in play is equal to or less than your opponent's, add 1 and set it as active, which is really nice. And then your Don Quixote, Rocinante, and your Heart Pirate type characters get plus 1000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. So really strong. And you know, if you have out like this 9k law, it becomes a 10k, which is really insane, and it's until the end of your opponent's turn, right? So I believe it's your leader and all of your Heart Pirate type character cards, which is really strong. I hope they give us a cool Beppo. Beppo deserves a really cool card, so I hope we get one. But yeah, it means your leader's a 6k, and then all of your cards like this becomes an 8k. Your 7 cost law becomes a 10k. Lots of really awesome stuff. I'm a big Rosie fan. I'm a big law fan. I love yellow green law. So I'm gonna be excited to try this out as well. I do think there's gonna be some spice with this leader. Don't write him off. I think he's actually gonna be really strong and have a lot of cool combos, but he still does need like maybe 1 or 2 extra cards, I think, to kind of push him into like the potential being like a meta contender or anything. And please, we want a cool Beppo. Thanks, Bandai. We want to see that. All right, let's move on to the next leader. Sanji. We got our boy, lover boy Sanji's in the house. We got a blue purple. Very fitting that he be the same color as blue purple Reiju. I think the last Sanji leader we got was red one, the mono red Sanji from PRB, right? So this is really interesting. He's Straw Hat Crew and Vinsmoke family, and then activate main once per turn, Dawn -1. Activate up to 1 Straw Hat Crew type event card from your hand with an original cost of 3 or less. And his second effect is when attacking, if the number of Dawn on your board is equal to or less than your opponent's, add 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck as rested. So very interesting effects here. One, the when attacking effect I think is super strong. Like if you're equal to or less, you just get to ramp arrested in your leader effect. Again, they're adding some of these leader like effects into the leader effect that would otherwise be kind of tacked on to character cards, and it just means like I think you have a certain strength and consistency built into your leader, which is good. I think that's very strong, and I think as long as they're not like just super overpowered, having some of these kind of like niche leader effects like this Sanji or Rocinante is awesome, and I love to see stuff like that. And I think it's good leader construction and like kind of gameplay design. And then the other thing here too is like the Dawn -1, the activating an event card from your hand with an original cost of 3 or less. I don't think this is quite as strong just based on the cards that we have right now, but obviously they're gonna print cards that'll be good for this. So not much to say about that. It'll be nice once we see more cards. We'll see like, oh, okay, we're gonna cheat out this or we're gonna cheat out that. But we do have one card here. This is a Zeph. I had to do it. I had to show the boy, the old master. Zeph, he's a 4 cost 5k, 1k counter, East blue, and then when a Dawn is returned to your Dawn deck and your leader is Sanji, this character gains Rush. So you can basically play Zeph, use the leader effect to minus Dawn and play an event, and then Zeph gets Rush. So, you know, if you asked me, I would say there's probably going to be some kind of like buffing event. Like I think this might be it's probably purple. I would say it's probably purple. There's going to be like a Makusen, like the 2 cost Ashura event that maybe like rests a card and buffs. I don't know, like Amaru or something, right? I think purple might get that. That might be kind of honestly not good to give purple that card right now, but maybe it'll be like if your leader is Sanji, or if the character you're using this is on his Zeph, like some kind of thing to specify there. But that would be cool, man. Like Zeph's awesome. It's a 4 cost 5k, so initially like the stats are decent, they're okay. He can get Rush. Yeah, I mean, I think there'll be something cool, or it'll be like an event that just like rest or just KO something, or you know, only gives you the buff. So there'll be something, but really interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of the more the other cards that are coming out for him. But let's move on to the next leader. All right, the last one we have here is Koala. I know there's a lot of Koala stands. I think Koala is pretty cool. I do like the Revolutionary Army characters, and you know, from the actual story, and I like to play Dragon. Red Dragon is actually one of my more favorite red leaders, and I think he's cool. Koala's cool too. Red Black Sabo was never really my jam, but Koala seems pretty cool, and I don't really normally like the black yellow color combination, but yeah, this leader seems pretty cool. Her effect is, and she's Revolutionary Army and Dressrosa typing, which is really important. Her effect reads, when this leader attacks your opponent's leader, if you have 2 or more cost 8 or greater characters in play, draw 1 card. And that means if you have, like you on your field have 2 or more cost 8 or greater. Then the other part of her effect is once per turn, when your opponent plays a character with an original cost of 8 or greater, or when your opponent plays a character through a character's effects, you may activate this ability. Your opponent adds the top card of their life to their hand. So a very, very strong effect here. A very, it's like kind of floodgatey in a way. It's a very controlling and manipulating effect, and I think it's very, very strong. So essentially, one, if you have 2 8 costs or more on the field, you get to draw when you attack, which is really, really strong. And then the other thing is just like, you know, being able to essentially punish your opponent for playing an 8 cost or higher character, or playing a character through character's effects. And I believe playing a character out of life does not count as this, and playing a character through a leader effect like Blue Dofi does not count as this. So there are some kind of workarounds to this, but regardless, super strong. There are some things to note, like I do think when, like for example, if you're playing against Blue Purple Luffy and they play 9 cost Sanji and then they play 9 cost Linlin afterwards, this as far as we know from the wording of this, you can choose when to activate it as the KOALA leader, like as the KOALA player. You can choose to not activate it when Sanji gets played and choose to activate it when Linlin gets played. So they heal and then you make them take their life essentially. So it's harder to work around for playing the large characters, but you know, like with green, if you play something like 8 cost Kid, you actually don't always mind taking a life. Sometimes it's some of the resources that you need. So or like if you're playing Roger and for whatever reason, if your opponent makes you take the life, you go down to 0. There are like some niche situations where it's actually not going to hurt you as much as you might think, but just in general, I do think it stops one, you know, like some of the more aggro stuff like 3 cost Chopper, or you know, even something like Ohm Holy. You're not going to be able to do that without having to take an additional life. And for a leader like Zoro, sometimes you're getting starved, so taking the life is fine. So I'm not sure just yet how it's actually going to play out, but having the Dressrosa typing means you can play stuff like 4 cost Zoro, you can play the stage, the Coliseum, so you're going to be able to interact with your opponent's board a lot as well. So it may not be as beneficial as people think for like something, an aggro deck like Zoro or Betty to take their life. Like Betty is only a 4 life leader too, so it may be, I don't know, that matchup is either going to go like incredibly Betty favored or incredibly KOALA favored. I'd have to see it kind of play out in real life to tell, but really interesting. This leader has a really interesting effect, and probably the one I'm most actually interested just to see like kind of how it shakes the meta. But let's move on to the characters. One is this Morley. It's just a 4 cost 5k, but it's a 2k, which is really strong. And the effect is if your leader is a revolutionary army type, this character gains plus 4 cost. So it's an 8k. The magic number for this leader effect. So and also it's just funny because it's Morley. And then this fucking aura farming Karasu here, this Chad, he's a 5 cost 6k, which is nice. 6k stat line is very, very important in OP11 and onwards, I'm sure, and it's a 1k counter. And if you have a revolutionary army type leader, this character's cost is increased by plus 3, so that makes him an 8k. And when attacking, if you have a revolutionary army type leader and your opponent has 5 or more cards in their hand, your opponent must discard 1 card from their hand. Damn, this card is really strong. I think this is incredibly strong. If you I guess it's he's only revolutionary army, so he doesn't get the Coliseum attack, but it's just really strong. If you like, say you have a Morley and this, and then you play, you know, your attack with leader, boom, you get to draw a card already. I mean, I don't know how much you'll be actually playing this Morley to the board, but this Karasu is really, really strong, and it's an 8 cost once it hits the board. So you know, out of range from stuff like Grab Blade, it's out of range from stuff like Kyros, 9 cost Mom, even Mihawk, because Mihawk's only 7 cost or less. Just really good. Like, if this card's sticking, you know, the only way your opponent's gonna be able to remove this card for the most part is probably just, you know, swinging into it, which is really, really good. I think there needs to be a few more character cards like that, because when your characters can just be removed so easily, like a lot of like green 5 costs, for example, It's just really hard because if your opponent has an answer for them, you just lose tempo, and it's really hard to get it back, and just can make it like not as much fun to try and like stabilize. But yeah, overall really strong. Koala is going to be really interesting, and I'm excited to see how she does. So that's it for all the leaders, and I just wanted to do a quick kind of like ranking. This is like my potential scale. I'm not gonna do tier lists or anything like that when we have like zero information. I just don't like doing that anymore. But I do want to kind of do this. I think for OP11 I did like the potential tier list, and I don't even want to do that anymore, because like when you put like the blue yellow Nami at like a potential tier 0 or something, it's just like we don't know. It's too much like guessing. It's stupid, and it just makes it feel like I don't know, it makes you feel bad if you're wrong too, and then people are just like shitting on you. So it's like, I'm doing this, this is like the most like guilt-free way I can do this. Like, don't come after me. This is just a potential scale. But you can see here, like, I have Koala basically at the highest potential, and just potential before we even know all of the cards. It doesn't mean she's actually going to be strong. Please keep that in mind. Koala could have too many weaknesses and too many shortcomings and just be beaten by a lot of leaders. We don't even know if she beats blue purple Luffy yet, so that's like the main thing that we would really need to be sure of before she even has a chance at becoming meta. So but just on paper and with her effect seemingly very strong into something like blue purple Luffy, I'm gonna put her at the top of high potential. Then I think Zoro has the next highest potential, because if he gets a few key cards that I think he's lacking and has a way to deal with removal and be defensive enough, he has the attacking power and just like the strong 5, 6 and like 8, 9 costs that he's gonna need to really do some damage to his opponents. Then we got Rosie. I think Rosie is a little bit of a niche. Rosie and Kuzan are kind of niche leaders, where they will depend much more on their combo pieces and kind of like what the meta around them looks like. I think they'll be able to take advantage of certain metas, and because of that, I put them at like some potential. Some potential could mean they could have up to high potential. And then RAYLEIGH and SANJI, I'm really not sure. We don't have enough information. I don't have enough cards to like make a better informed decision. This is essentially like they're basically some potential, but there's just not enough information, so I really don't know. The only ones I'm sure that like will be at least decently strong are probably Koala and Zoro, and then Rosie would be my next one. These 3 leaders I think definitely would be have a really good shot of being strong, and then these 3 leaders I think will be somewhat meta dependent and extremely dependent on the support that they get. That's it. So let me know, what do you think? What leaders are you excited to try out? What will you be playing OP12? Are you skipping OP11 because of what the meta is probably going to look like? This will be different too by the time you guys get it in the West, because you will have all of the starter decks before then, because you're getting them with OP11. So that's really cool too, and that'll make things a bit different. But as always, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing, and I am streaming 2 to 3 days a week on Twitch and here on YouTube, so keep an eye out for that, and find me on whichever platform you like the best. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.